Apply Epictetus's control principle to reduce anxiety today. Chapter 1. The Anxious Modern World. Ancient Wisdom. Take a deep breath. Feel the air fill your lungs, hold it for a moment, and slowly release it. How often do you consciously do that during your day? For many of us, the answer is likely not often enough. Instead, our breaths are shallow, our shoulders are tense, and our minds race with a persistent low-grade hum of worry, punctuated by sharp spikes of outright anxiety. If this sounds familiar, you are far from alone. Welcome to the anxious modern world. It seems almost paradoxical. We live in an era of unprecedented technological advancement, instant global communication, and material comforts unimaginable to previous generations. We have access to vast stores of information, tools to connect with almost anyone anywhere, and conveniences that automate countless daily tasks. Yet, alongside this progress, a pervasive sense of unease seems to have taken root. Anxiety disorders are among the most common mental health challenges globally, affecting millions. Even for those without a formal diagnosis, feelings of stress, overwhelm, worry, and a general lack of peace are increasingly becoming the default state. Where does this modern malaise stem from? The sources are multifaceted and interconnected. The relentless pace of life demands constant productivity and optimization. Work culture often blurs the lines between professional and personal time, with emails and notifications pinging at all hours, fostering a sense of never truly being off. The digital landscape, particularly social media, presents curated, often unrealistic, highlight reels of others' lives, fueling comparison, inadequacy, and the fear of missing out. FOMO. We are bombarded with a 24/7 news cycle detailing global crises, political instability, climate change, economic uncertainty events that feel monumental and overwhelming, yet utterly beyond our individual capacity to influence. We worry about the future, regret the past, stress about finances, health, relationships, and our place in the world. It feels like we're constantly juggling chainsaws while walking a tightrope over a pit of existential dread. The result? A state of chronic mental and emotional agitation. Our nervous systems are perpetually in overdrive, scanning for threats that are often intangible, abstract, or far in the future. It's exhausting, and it leads many to seek relief through various means: medication, therapy, mindfulness apps, self-help books, perhaps even unhealthy coping mechanisms. While many modern approaches offer valuable support, what if one of the most potent antidotes to our distinctly modern anxiety wasn't modern at all? What if the key to navigating the chaos of the 21st century lies in the wisdom of thinkers who lived 2 millennia ago? Enter Stoicism. Born in ancient Greece and flourishing in Rome, Stoicism is a practical philosophy designed not for dusty academics in ivory towers, but for living a good, resilient, and tranquil life in the midst of real-world challenges. It's a philosophy forged in the crucible of human experience, offering guidance on ethics, logic, and understanding our place in the cosmos. Among its most influential figures was a man named Epictetus. His life story is remarkable. Born a slave in the Roman Empire around 50 AD, he endured hardship, gained his freedom, and became a revered teacher whose insights profoundly influenced emperors and common citizens alike. He didn't leave behind written works himself. His teachings were transcribed by his dedicated student Arian in the Discourses and the concise handbook, the Enchiridion. What makes Epictetus and his fellow Stoics so relevant today? They grappled with the same fundamental human challenges we face: uncertainty, loss, difficult people, societal pressures, and the gap between our desires and reality. Their core insight, however, provides a revolutionary framework for dealing with it all. They understood that while the world outside us is often chaotic and unpredictable, our inner world, our judgments, choices, and responses is fundamentally within our command. This brings us to the central pillar of this book, the principle that holds the potential to dramatically reduce your anxiety starting today: Epictetus's dichotomy of control. It's a simple yet profound idea. Some things in life are within our control, and some things are not. According to Epictetus, our peace of mind and freedom from suffering depend entirely on our ability to clearly distinguish between these two categories and to focus our energy exclusively on what is within our control. Our judgments, our opinions, our desires, our aversions, our own actions, these are up to us. Everything else, our bodies, our possessions, our reputation, the actions of others, world events, the past, the future, is ultimately outside our direct control. This might sound simple, perhaps even obvious, yet truly internalizing and living by this distinction is transformative. Think about the sources of your own anxiety. How much of it stems from worrying about things you cannot influence? The traffic jam making you late? A colleague's opinion of your work? The outcome of a global election? The possibility of future illness? Epictetus argues that investing our emotional energy in these externals is not only futile, but the very source of our anxiety, frustration, and suffering. By learning to identify what truly belongs in our sphere of control and directing our efforts there, while practicing acceptance towards everything else, we can cultivate profound inner peace and resilience, regardless of external circumstances. This book is your practical guide to understanding and applying this ancient wisdom to the specific anxieties of modern life. We will delve deeper into the life and teachings of Epictetus, unpack the dichotomy of control in detail, and provide concrete exercises and strategies to help you shift your focus, master your inner world, and ultimately find a greater sense of calm and control amidst the unavoidable uncertainties of life. The path away from anxiety doesn't necessarily require changing the world around you. It begins by changing how you relate to it, armed with the timeless wisdom of a slave who became a sage. Chapter 2. Meet Epictetus, from slave to sage. In the previous chapter, we touched upon the profound relevance of Stoic philosophy, particularly the teachings of Epictetus, for navigating our anxious modern world. But who was this man whose ideas, forged 2,000 years ago, still resonate with such power? To truly appreciate the depth and practicality of his wisdom, especially the dichotomy of control, it helps to understand the life that shaped it. A life marked by profound adversity, yet crowned with intellectual freedom and inner peace. Epictetus wasn't a privileged philosopher contemplating life from a comfortable distance. He lived his philosophy in the face of circumstances that would break most people. His journey from the lowest rungs of Roman society to becoming one of its most respected philosophical teachers is a testament to the power of the principles he espoused. Epictetus was born around 50 AD in Hierapolis, Phrygia, modern-day Pamukkale in Turkey. We don't know his birth name. Epictetus, Epictetos in Greek simply means acquired or gained, a common naming convention for slaves. He was born into bondage, the property of Epaphroditus, a wealthy and influential freedman who served as administrative secretary to the infamous Emperor Nero and later Emperor Domitian. Life as a slave in the Roman Empire was brutal and precarious. Slaves were considered property, subject entirely to the whims and commands of their owners, with no rights or recourse. Adding to the hardship, Epictetus was lame. Historical accounts vary on the cause. Some suggest he was born with the disability, while others recount a more harrowing tale. The 8th century pagan writer Celsus, quoted by the Christian theologian Origen, claimed that Epaphroditus, in a fit of rage, or perhaps cruel amusement, deliberately broke Epictetus's leg. According to this account, Epictetus calmly warned his master, "You will break it," and when the bone snapped, simply remarked, "Did I not tell you so?" While the exact truth is lost to time, the story, whether literal or apocryphal, perfectly encapsulates the Stoic ideal Epictetus would come to embody: serene acceptance of external events, even painful ones, focusing instead on maintaining inner composure. His physical limitation became a constant, tangible reminder of the distinction between what is external, the body and its condition, and what is internal, one's response to that condition. Despite his enslavement and physical challenges, Epictetus possessed a keen intellect that did not go unnoticed. While in Rome, Epaphroditus permitted him to study Stoic philosophy under the tutelage of Gaius Musonius Rufus, one of the most prominent Stoic teachers of the time. Musonius Rufus himself had faced exile under Nero and was known for his emphasis on philosophy as a practical guide to living virtuously. This education was Epictetus's lifeline, offering him a framework for understanding his suffering and cultivating inner resilience. He absorbed the core tenets of Stoicism. The universe is governed by reason, logos. Virtue is the sole good, and happiness comes from living in accordance with nature and reason. Focusing only on what is within one's control, namely one's judgments and volitions. Eventually, Epictetus gained his freedom, likely after Nero's death in 68 AD, possibly manumitted by Epaphroditus, or perhaps after his master's own fall from grace and execution under Emperor Domitian. As a freedman, Epictetus began to teach philosophy in Rome, quickly gaining a reputation for his powerful insights, direct teaching style, and the compelling example of his own life. He lived simply, embodying the principles he taught. However, his time teaching in Rome was cut short. Around 93 AD, Emperor Domitian, known for his autocratic rule and suspicion of philosophers, whom he perhaps saw as potential sources of dissent, banished all philosophers from Rome and Italy. Once again, Epictetus faced external circumstances, forcing a drastic change in his life. Yet consistent with his teachings, he didn't rail against fate or succumb to despair. He simply relocated to Nicopolis, a major city in the province of Epirus in western Greece. It was here in Nicopolis that Epictetus founded his own successful philosophical school and spent the remainder of his life teaching. He attracted dedicated students from across the Roman world, drawn by his wisdom and authenticity. One such student was Flavius Arrianus, or Arrian, a historian and military commander who would later serve as governor of Cappadocia. Arrian was so profoundly impacted by Epictetus's teachings that he meticulously transcribed his lectures and discussions, preserving them for posterity. These notes became the discourses, diatribae, a collection of informal yet penetrating conversations and lessons on applying Stoic principles to everyday life. Arrian also compiled a shorter, more accessible handbook of key principles called the Enchiridion, meaning manual or ready at hand. It is primarily through Arrian's dedicated efforts that we know Epictetus's philosophy today, as Epictetus himself, like Socrates before him, wrote nothing down. The discourses in Enchiridion reveal a philosophy stripped down to its practical essence. Epictetus wasn't interested in abstract metaphysical debates as much as in the art of living well. His core message, hammered home repeatedly, is the absolute necessity of distinguishing what is up to us, our judgments, impulses, desires, aversions, from what is not up to us, everything external. He taught that true freedom and happiness are found not in changing the world, but in mastering our inner responses to it. His teachings emphasize self-discipline, reason, accepting fate, understanding our duties as rational beings, and recognizing our shared humanity. Epictetus's life enduring slavery, disability, and exile while cultivating profound inner peace and wisdom serves as the ultimate validation of his philosophy. He didn't just preach resilience, he lived it. He demonstrated that external circumstances, no matter how dire, cannot touch the core of our being, our faculty of choice, prohairesis, unless we allow them to through faulty judgment. By understanding the man behind the principles, we gain a deeper appreciation for the hard-won wisdom he offers, a wisdom perfectly suited to helping us navigate the anxieties and uncertainties of our own lives. He stands as a powerful reminder that our capacity for reason and virtuous choice is our ultimate refuge, the unassailable fortress within. Chapter 3. The Dichotomy of Control Explained. Having met the remarkable figure of Epictetus in the previous chapter, we now arrive at the cornerstone of his practical philosophy, the single most powerful tool he offers for navigating life's challenges and dissolving anxiety. It's a principle introduced right at the beginning of his handbook, the Enchiridion, signaling its paramount importance. Epictetus, through his student Arrian, begins, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." This fundamental distinction, often called the dichotomy of control, is the bedrock upon which a tranquil and resilient mind can be built. It sounds deceptively simple, Yet grasping its implications and consistently applying it is a life-altering practice. Let's break down these two categories, what is truly up to us and what is not up to us. Because misunderstanding this division is, according to Epictetus, the primary source of our mental turmoil, including anxiety. Category 1, things within our control, internal. This category encompasses everything that originates entirely within our own mind and will. These are the aspects of our existence where we have ultimate sovereignty. 1. Opinion judgment, hypolepsis. This refers to how we interpret events, people, and situations. It's the meaning we assign, the value judgments we make. An event itself is neutral. It's our opinion about the event that causes distress. For example, being stuck in traffic is an external event. Judging it as terrible, a disaster, or unfair is an internal opinion, and that judgment fuels frustration and anxiety. We have the power to examine and change these judgments. 2. Motivation impulse choice. HORM. This is our impulse to act, the initiation of our choices. It's the decision to pursue something or to avoid it, the conscious selection of one path over another. Whether we choose to get out of bed, to speak kindly, to work diligently, or to lash out in anger, the initial impulse and the resulting choice originate within us. 3. Desire or excess. What we reach for, what we yearn to attain. We have control over what we set our hearts on. Do we desire external things like wealth, fame, or the approval of others? Or do we desire internal things like virtue, wisdom, and tranquility? Epictetus argues we should align our desires only with what is within our control, namely our own virtuous thoughts and actions. 4. Aversion, eklesis. What we try to avoid, what we push away. Similar to desire, we control what we deem worthy of aversion. Do we try to avoid external misfortunes like illness, poverty, or criticism? Or do we focus our aversion on internal vices like cowardice, injustice, or poor judgment? The Stoic ideal is to direct aversion only towards internal failings, not external circumstances. 5. In a word, whatever is of our own doing, ergon. This sums it up: our own thoughts, intentions, and actions. The effort we put in, the character we cultivate, the principles we choose to live by. These internal elements constitute our inner citadel, the domain where we are truly free and powerful. No external force can compel us to judge an event negatively, desire what is harmful, or act against our principles unless we consent to it through our own volition. Category 2. Things outside our control, external. This category includes everything else, all the factors and events that happen to us or exist independently of our direct will. 1. Body, or soma. While we can influence our health through diet and exercise, actions within our control, our fundamental physical constitution, susceptibility to illness, aging process, and ultimately death are not fully up to us. We can get sick despite our best efforts. Accidents happen. Genetics play a role. 2. Property possessions. Katasis. Our material wealth, house, car, belongings. These can be gained or lost through factors beyond our direct control, economic downturns. Theft, natural disasters, market fluctuations. We control our efforts towards acquiring or maintaining them, but not the final outcome or their permanence. 3. Reputation, doxa. What others think of us, our social standing, fame, or notoriety. This is inherently dependent on the judgments and opinions of other people, which are within their control, not ours. We can act virtuously within our control, but we cannot force others to perceive or appreciate it accurately. 4. Office position, arche. Our job title, political office, social roles. Attaining or losing these often depends on external factors like company decisions, elections, societal changes, or simply luck. Again, we control our performance and effort within the role, but not the role itself. 5. In a word, whatever is not of our own doing, this broad category covers everything else external, the actions of other people, the laws of physics, the weather, natural events, past events, which are immutable, and specific future outcomes, which are uncertain. The crucial link to anxiety. So why is rigorously maintaining this distinction the key to reducing anxiety? Epictetus's profound insight is this: anxiety, frustration, fear, and suffering arise precisely when we confuse these two categories. They arise when we desire things outside our control. We desperately want that promotion, office, crave the admiration of others, reputation, or yearn for perfect health, body. Because these things are not fully up to us, this desire sets us up for disappointment, frustration, and anxiety about potentially not getting them or losing them. Have an aversion to things outside our control. We desperately try to avoid illness, body, criticism, your reputation, financial loss, property, or unpleasant events, externals. Since we cannot guarantee avoidance, this aversion leads to constant fear, worry, and stress about these possibilities. Neglect what is within our control. While consumed with worry about externals, we often fail to manage the one area where we have real power, our own judgments, choices, and actions. Have an aversion to things outside our control. We desperately try to avoid illness, body, criticism, your reputation, financial loss, property, or unpleasant events, externals. Since we cannot guarantee avoidance, this aversion leads to constant fear, worry, and stress about these possibilities. Neglect what is within our control. While consumed with worry about externals, we often fail to manage the one area where we have real power, our own judgments, choices, and actions. We let external events dictate our inner state. Imagine trying to command the tide to stop or ordering the sun not to set. It's absurd, futile, and would only lead to immense frustration. Yet, Epictetus points out, we do the psychological equivalent every day when we demand that externals conform to our wishes. We treat reputation, health, or the actions of others as if they should be under our command, and then feel anxious and powerless when they inevitably prove not to be. By consciously recognizing this is not up to me regarding external events, we liberate ourselves from the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. We can then redirect that wasted energy towards managing our responses, our judgments, our intentions, our actions. This is where our true power lies. We cannot control the traffic jam, but we can control our judgment about it, choosing patience over rage. We cannot control whether someone criticizes us, but we can control whether we internalize that criticism or maintain our self-worth. This shift in focus from the external to the internal is the antidote to anxiety. It replaces the feeling of helpless vulnerability to external chaos with a sense of empowered agency within our own minds. It doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent to the world, but rather engaging with it wisely, focusing our efforts where they matter, and cultivating an unshakable inner peace that doesn't depend on external validation or outcomes. This is the freedom Epictetus promises, and it begins with mastering this fundamental dichotomy. In Chapter 4, Identifying Your Locus of Control. In the last chapter, we explored Epictetus's foundational principle, the dichotomy of control. We delineated the crucial difference between what is truly up to us, our judgments, motivations, desires, aversions, and actions, and what is not up to us, essentially everything external, from our bodies and possessions to the opinions of others and world events. Understanding this distinction intellectually is the first step. Now we need to turn the lens inward and honestly assess, where do you typically focus your energy, attention, and concern? Where does your sense of control or lack thereof currently reside? This chapter is about self-discovery, using practical exercises to pinpoint the habitual focus of your mind, especially when anxiety strikes. Modern psychology talks about the concept of locus of control, distinguishing between individuals who generally believe they control their own destiny, internal locus, and those who believe their lives are primarily shaped by external forces, external locus. While related, the Stoic approach, particularly Epictetus's, is subtly different and perhaps more actionable. It's less about a fixed personality trait and more about a conscious practice of directing your attention and aligning your desires and aversions correctly. The goal isn't just to believe you have internal control, but to actively exercise it by focusing on your judgments and choices regardless of external circumstances. To begin this process of self-discovery, let's engage in some practical reflection. Exercise 1, the worry log. This exercise requires diligence for a few days, but the insights gained are invaluable. Find a small notebook or use a notes app on your phone. For the next 3 to 5 days, make a conscious effort to notice whenever you feel a pang of anxiety, worry, stress, or frustration. When you notice it, pause and record the following. 1. The feeling. Briefly note the emotion, for example, anxiety, worry, irritation, fear. 2. The trigger, situation. What prompted the feeling? Be specific, for example, upcoming presentation, comment from coworker, news report about economy, thinking about past mistake, waiting for test results. 3. The specific worry. What is the exact thought or fear? For example, I'm going to fail the presentation. My coworker thinks I'm incompetent. I might lose my job. I wish I hadn't said that. What if the results are bad? 4. Control check. Now, analyze the object of your specific worry using the dichotomy of control. Is the thing you are worried about fundamentally within your direct control, an internal judgment, choice, or action you can make right now? Or outside your direct control, an external event, outcome, another person's thought slash action, past event, future possibility? Be brutally honest. Example entry. Feeling. Anxiety spike. Trigger. Received an ambiguous email from boss. Specific worry. Does my boss think I messed up the report? Am I going to get in trouble? Control check. My boss's thoughts and potential future actions are outside my control. My interpretation, I must be in trouble, is within my control. My actions, for example, calmly asking for clarification, focusing on my current tasks, are within my control. The anxiety is currently focused on the external, boss's thoughts, actions. Keep this log consistently. After a few days, review your entries. Look for patterns. Where does the focus of your anxiety predominantly lie? Are you spending most of your mental energy worrying about things you identified as being outside your control? Row. Exercise 2. Dissecting common anxiety triggers. Let's apply the dichotomy of control to some common scenarios that often provoke anxiety. Public speaking, presentation. Outside control, the audience's reaction, technical glitches, specific questions asked, the final outcome, for example, deal closed, grade received. Within control, preparation, practice, the content of your speech, your intention to do your best, managing your breathing, your judgment about the importance of perfection versus effort. Where does anxiety usually focus? Often on the audience's judgment or the fear of external failure, outside control. Social gathering, outside control. What others think of you, whether specific people talk to you, awkward silences caused by others, the overall vibe of the party. Within control, your decision to attend, your choice to be friendly and engage politely, your conversation topics, managing your self-talk, your judgment about needing everyone's approval. Where does anxiety usually focus? Fear of negative judgment or rejection, outside control. Worrying about the future, for example, finances, health. Outside control, economic recessions, unexpected illnesses, accidents, specific market performance, the exact timing of future events. Within control, budgeting, saving, seeking knowledge, making healthy choices, diet, exercise, preventative checkups, planning and preparation, managing fearful thoughts about uncertainty. Where does anxiety usually focus? Catastrophizing about potential negative outcomes, outside control. Ruminating on past mistakes, outside control. The past event itself, it's already happened and cannot be changed. Within control. Learning from the mistake, making amends if possible. Action, adjusting future behavior, forgiving yourself. Judgment, choosing not to dwell mentally. Where does anxiety usually focus? Wishing the unchangeable past were different. Outside control. By dissecting these situations, you begin to see how consistently our anxiety latches onto the very things Epictetus warned us about, the externals that lie beyond our power. This external focus is precisely why we feel powerless and anxious. We're trying to wrestle with phantoms and command the uncontrollable. Introducing indifference, preferred versus dispreferred. Recognizing our tendency to focus on externals leads us to another crucial Stoic concept: indifference. If virtue, acting with reason and integrity, is the only true good and vice the only true evil, then everything else, health, wealth, reputation, sickness, poverty, obscurity, falls into the category of indifference. They are indifferent concerning our fundamental moral character and potential for happiness, eudaimonia, which depends solely on our internal state. However, the Stoics weren't naive. They understood that while these things don't determine our goodness, some are naturally preferable to others. This leads to the distinction between preferred indifference, things like health, reasonable wealth, good reputation, friends, family. It's natural and rational to prefer these things and take reasonable action within our control to obtain or maintain them. Dispreferred indifference, things like sickness, poverty, pain, bad reputation. It's natural to disprefer these and take reasonable action to avoid them. The critical mistake and a major source of anxiety occurs when we treat preferred indifference as essential goods and dispreferred indifference as absolute evils. When we believe our happiness depends on having health, wealth, or reputation, we become slaves to fortune, constantly anxious about gaining or losing them. When we view sickness or criticism as unbearable evils, we live in perpetual fear. The Stoic path is to prefer health, but accept sickness with equanimity if it occurs. To prefer a good reputation, but not be destroyed by criticism. To work towards financial stability, action, but not tie our self-worth or peace of mind to our bank balance. External. We aim for preferred indifference to virtuous action within our control, but we accept whatever outcome occurs regarding these externals without letting it shatter our inner tranquility. By identifying where your focus currently lies, likely often on externals, and treating preferred indifference as necessities, you've taken the essential first step. You've mapped the territory of your own mind. The subsequent chapters will equip you with the tools to consciously shift that focus, reclaiming your power by concentrating on the inner citadel that is truly yours to command. Chapter 5. Mastering Your Inner World, Judgments and Beliefs. In the previous chapter, we embarked on the crucial task of identifying where our focus typically lies, particularly when anxiety arises. Through exercises like the worry log, you likely discovered a common pattern. Much of our distress stems from fixating on things outside our direct control: external events, other people's opinions, future uncertainties, or immutable past happenings. Now that we've mapped this territory, we move from diagnosis to action. This chapter delves into the heart of Epictetus' solution, mastering the one domain where we possess absolute sovereignty, our inner world of judgments and beliefs. This, he taught, is the master key to unlocking tranquility and resilience. Epictetus stated unequivocally in the Enchiridion, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. This is one of the most radical and empowering ideas in Stoicism. It asserts that external events in themselves are neutral. They don't possess inherent goodness or badness that forces us to feel a certain way. A job loss, a critical comment, a sudden change of plans, these are simply facts. It is the meaning we assign to these facts, the story we tell ourselves about them, the judgment we layer upon them, that creates our emotional response, including anxiety. If we judge an event as terrible, unbearable, or catastrophic, we will feel accordingly. Conversely, if we learn to manage our judgments, we can influence our emotional state profoundly, even in the face of adversity. Mastering our judgments isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending negative events don't happen. It's about consciously choosing how we interpret and respond to those events. It's about reclaiming our mental faculty of assent, our ability to agree or disagree with the initial impressions that flood our minds. Here are practical techniques inspired by Epictetus and echoed in modern cognitive therapies to help you gain command over your judgments. Technique 1. The pause separate practice. Our initial reactions to events are often automatic and deeply ingrained. An unexpected email from the boss instantly triggers a something's wrong judgment. A perceived slight immediately sparks a they disrespect me interpretation. The first step is to create space between the event and your reaction. Notice the event. Acknowledge the external stimulus objectively. I received an email. Notice the initial judgment, emotion. Observe the automatic thought and feeling that arises. My stomach clenched. I thought, oh no, what did I do? Consciously pause. Before accepting the judgment as truth and letting the emotions spiral, take a deliberate mental step back. Breathe. Separate event from interpretation. Remind yourself, this email is just an email, event. My interpretation is that it signifies trouble, judgment. This simple act of separation creates distance and allows for rational assessment. This pause prevents the immediate, unthinking assent to potentially flawed initial judgments that fuel anxiety. It gives your rational mind a chance to intervene. Technique 2. Examine your impressions. Once you've created that pause, the next step is to actively scrutinize the initial judgment or impression, fantasia. Epictetus advised, practice then from the very beginning to say to every harsh impression, you are an impression and not at all the thing you appear to be. Then examine it and test it by these rules you have. First, whether it concerns the things that are up to us or the things that are not up to us. When an anxious thought arises, I'm going to fail this presentation. Everyone will think I'm foolish. This situation is hopeless. Challenge it directly. Is this judgment true? What evidence supports it? What evidence contradicts it? Am I confusing possibility with certainty? Is this judgment helpful? Does dwelling on this thought help me prepare or perform better? Or does it simply increase my anxiety and hinder me? Is it based on facts or assumptions? Am I reacting to objective reality or to my own fears and insecurities projected onto the situation? Is this impression about something within my control or outside it? If it's about an external outcome, for example, they will reject me, Recognize that you're troubled by something not up to you. Refocus on what is up to you: your preparation, your mindset, your actions. Is there another, more objective or constructive way to view this? This examination acts like a filter, preventing automatic, anxiety-provoking interpretations from taking root unchallenged. Technique 3. Cognitive reframing. After examining an unhelpful judgment, the next step is to actively replace it with a more rational, balanced, and constructive one. This is often called reframing. It's not about naive positive thinking, but about aligning your thoughts with reality and the dichotomy of control. Anxious thought. If I make a mistake during the presentation, it will be a disaster. Reframed thought. I will prepare thoroughly to minimize mistakes within control. If a mistake happens, external possibility, it's not ideal but likely not a disaster. I can handle it and learn from it. My goal is to do my best, not achieve impossible perfection. Anxious thought. I can't handle this uncertainty. Down. Reframed thought. Uncertainty is a part of life and outside my control. Feeling uncomfortable is natural, but can't handle is an unhelpful judgment. I can handle the discomfort by focusing on what I can control: my actions, my breathing, my perspective. Anxious thought. They didn't respond to my message. They must be angry with me. Reframed. Thought. Their lack of response is an external event. There could be many reasons outside control. Assuming anger is just one possibility and likely based on my insecurity. Judgment. I will focus on my own actions and not jump to negative conclusions. Technique 4. Uncovering and challenging core beliefs. Often our surface-level anxious judgments stem from deeper, often unconscious core beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world. These act like filters through which we interpret everything. Common anxiety-fueling core beliefs include: I must be perfect. I need everyone's approval. I am not good enough. The world is a dangerous place. I cannot cope with difficulty. Identify them. Look for recurring themes in your worry log or in the worst-case scenarios that accompany your anxiety. Ask yourself, if this fear came true, what would that mean about me or the world? The answer often points to a core belief. Challenge them. Once identified, subject these core beliefs to rigorous examination using logic, evidence, and the dichotomy of control. Is it really true that I must be perfect? Is perfection even possible or within my control? Where is the evidence that my worth depends on universal approval? Is seeking external validation within my control or helpful? Is it accurate to say I cannot cope? Haven't I coped with difficulties before? Replace them. Consciously formulate and rehearse alternative core beliefs aligned with Stoic principles and reality. Examples. My worth comes from my character and intentions, which are within my control. I prefer approval, but I don't need it to live virtuously. I can face challenges by focusing on my responses. I strive for excellence, not unattainable perfection. Mastering your judgments and reshaping limiting beliefs is not a one-time fix, but an ongoing practice, perhaps the central practice of applied Stoicism. It requires vigilance, honesty, and consistent effort. But by diligently working on this inner domain, the only one truly up to us, you begin to dismantle the very foundations of anxiety. You cultivate an inner resilience that allows you to face external events not with fear and agitation, but with clarity, purpose, and a growing sense of tranquility. This mastery of judgment forms the essential groundwork for the next step, taking charge of your actions and desires. Chapter 6. Taking charge of your actions and desires. Having explored the critical importance of mastering our judgments and beliefs in Chapter 5, we now turn our attention outward, but only as far as our own sphere of influence extends. If sound judgment is the command center, then our actions and desires are the troops we deploy in the world. Mastering our inner world naturally leads to a transformation in how we engage with the external world through our choices and aspirations. This chapter focuses on harnessing the power of intentional action and aligning our desires correctly, using the dichotomy of control as our unwavering guide. This is where philosophy becomes practice, moving from understanding to doing, and in doing so, actively dismantling anxiety rooted in feelings of helplessness or misdirected longing. The power of intentional action. Prohairesis. One of the most liberating aspects of Epictetus's philosophy is the shift in focus from outcomes to intentions and actions. We've established that external results, whether we get the job, win the competition, receive praise, or avoid illness, are ultimately not up to us. They depend on a myriad of factors beyond our command. Anxiety thrives in this gap between our desires for specific outcomes and our inability to guarantee them. The Stoic antidote is to redirect our focus onto the process, onto the effort, onto the quality of our own actions, because these are within our control. Our faculty of choice, our volition, prohairesis, is entirely ours to manage. We cannot control if our presentation wins the contract, but we can control the thoroughness of our preparation, the clarity of our delivery, and our intention to provide genuine value. We cannot control whether a difficult conversation resolves a conflict perfectly, but we can control our commitment to speaking honestly and respectfully, listening attentively, and seeking understanding. This focus on virtuous action provides a profound sense of agency. Instead of feeling like a passive victim of circumstance, tossed about by external events, you become an active participant, directing your energy towards what you can influence, your own behavior. The goal shifts from achieving a specific external result, which breeds anxiety, to acting in accordance with your values with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, which cultivates inner peace. Ask yourself in any situation, what is the virtuous action here? What is within my power to do right now that aligns with my principles? Facing a challenging project at work? Focus on breaking it down, planning diligently, and executing each step to the best of your ability. Action, rather than worrying obsessively about the final appraisal. Outcome. Dealing with a health concern? Focus on gathering information, following medical advice, and adopting healthy habits. Action, rather than being consumed by fear of potential future diagnoses. Outcome: feeling overwhelmed by global problems? Focus on contributing in ways that are within your sphere of influence, volunteering locally, donating responsibly, educating yourself, engaging in respectful dialogue, action, rather than succumbing to despair about the vastness of the issues. Outcome: by consistently bringing your attention back to your own choices and efforts, you anchor yourself in the present and in the domain of your own power, starving the anxiety that feeds on uncontrollable future possibilities. Aligning desire, orexis, and aversion, eklesis, hand in hand with taking charge of our actions, is the crucial task of managing our desires and aversions. As we learned, Epictetus taught that our desires should be directed only towards things within our control, our own virtue and right action, and our aversion should be directed only against things within our control, our own vice and wrong action. Think about what you typically long for or fear. Is it wealth, status, constant comfort, the approval of others? These are externals, preferred indifference at best. Basing your happiness on attaining them makes you vulnerable and anxious because they can be taken away or withheld by forces beyond your control. Similarly, do you live in dread of pain, loss, criticism, or failure? These are also externals, dispreferred indifference. Trying desperately to avoid them leads to a life constricted by fear, as complete avoidance is impossible. The Stoic path involves a radical realignment. Cultivate a primary desire for wisdom, integrity, and the ability to respond virtuously to whatever life throws your way. Desire to act justly, courageously, and with self-control. These are goals entirely within your sphere of power. Aversion. Develop an aversion to poor judgment, cowardice, injustice, and intemperance within yourself. Strive to avoid acting against your principles. This is also entirely within your control. This doesn't mean you can't prefer health over sickness or success over failure, but it means you don't attach your fundamental peace of mind to these external outcomes. Your tranquility comes from knowing you are striving to be the best version of yourself, regardless of external rewards or difficulties. Practical strategy: filtering your desires. When you feel a strong desire or craving, pause and examine it through the lens of the dichotomy of control. 1. Identify the object of desire. What exactly do I want? For example, I want my boss's praise. 2. Apply the control check. Is this object directly within my control? No. My boss's opinion is external. 3. Redirect the desire. What related action or internal state is within my control? For example, I will focus on doing high-quality work that I judge to be excellent. I desire to act with diligence and integrity. This conscious redirection shifts your emotional investment from the uncontrollable outcome to the controllable process. Practical strategy: breaking down overwhelming tasks. Anxiety often spikes when we face large, complex tasks or goals where the outcome feels uncertain and distant. Procrastination, fueled by this overwhelm, only adds another layer of stress. The Stoic focus on controllable action provides a powerful antidote here. Instead of being paralyzed by the enormity of the goal, an external outcome, break it down into the smallest possible, concrete, actionable steps that are clearly within your immediate control. Goal, write a report. Overwhelming, outcome focused. Breakdown. 1. Open the document. 2. Write the title. 3. Outline the main sections. 4. Research the first point. 5. Write one paragraph about the first point. Small, manageable actions within control. Goal, get in shape. Vague, outcome focused. Breakdown. 1. Put on workout clothes. 2. Walk for 10 minutes today. 3. Research healthy recipes for dinner tonight. 4. Schedule gym time for tomorrow. Specific, achievable actions. Focus solely on completing the very next step. Each small action completed reinforces your sense of agency and builds momentum, chipping away at the anxiety associated with the larger, uncertain goal. You are taking charge of what you can do right here, right now. By consciously directing your actions based on virtuous intentions and aligning your desires with what is truly up to you, you actively shape your experience. You move from being a passive reactor, anxious about the whims of fortune, to becoming a proactive agent, finding purpose and tranquility in the exercise of your own reason and will. This is the practical application of Stoic freedom. Chapter 7. Letting go, accepting what you cannot change. We've journeyed through the core components of Epictetus' strategy for reducing anxiety. Understanding the dichotomy of control, Chapter 3. Identifying our current focus, Chapter 4. Mastering our judgments, Chapter 5. And taking charge of our actions and desires, Chapter 6. These elements empower us to act effectively within our sphere of influence. But what about everything else? What about the vast swaths of life that remain stubbornly outside our command, the unexpected setbacks, the losses, the actions of others, the sheer unpredictability of existence? This is where the final crucial piece of the puzzle clicks into place. The art of acceptance. Learning to let go of resistance towards what we cannot change is the necessary counterpart to acting virtuously where we can. It is the key to finding peace not despite external circumstances, but within them. The art of acceptance, beyond mere tolerance. What does it mean to accept something in the Stoic sense? It's crucial to understand that acceptance is not the same as liking, condoning, or approving. You don't have to like that you lost your job, that you received a difficult diagnosis, or that someone treated you unfairly. Acceptance, rather, is the clear-eyed, non-resistant acknowledgement of reality as it is. It's recognizing, this is the situation I am currently facing. This event has occurred. This is outside my direct control. The opposite of acceptance is resistance, the mental and emotional fight against reality. It's the constant, if only, the this shouldn't be happening, the it's not fair. While these reactions are understandable, Epictetus would argue they are the very source of our suffering and anxiety regarding uncontrollable events. Trying to mentally negate or fight against something that has already happened or is outside your power is as futile and exhausting as trying to push back the ocean tide. It drains your energy and keeps you trapped in a cycle of frustration, anger, or despair. Acceptance, therefore, is an act of profound liberation. It frees up the mental and emotional energy previously consumed by resistance, allowing you to redirect it towards what you can control: your response, your next actions, your inner state. The Stoics even had a term for a more radical form of acceptance: amor fati, often translated as love of fate. This doesn't necessarily mean feeling happy about misfortune, but rather embracing everything that happens, the good and the bad, as a necessary part of the tapestry of existence, perhaps even as an opportunity for growth or demonstrating virtue. While loving fate might feel like a lofty goal, the practical starting point is simply to cease fighting against the unchangeable. Acceptance versus resignation, a crucial distinction. A common misunderstanding often prevents people from embracing acceptance: the fear that it equates to passive resignation, apathy, or giving up. If I accept this situation, the thinking goes, doesn't that mean I'm just letting it happen? That I'm powerless? This confuses accepting reality with abandoning effort. Stoic acceptance applies only to those things identified by the dichotomy of control as being outside our sphere of influence. Past events, they are done. External circumstances right now, they are what they are. The actions and opinions of others, they are up to them. Natural laws and inevitable processes like aging or death. Specific future outcomes, as opposed to our efforts towards them. Accepting these does not mean you stop striving or taking action where you do have control. In fact, true acceptance enables effective action. Example: imagine receiving harsh, unfair criticism from a colleague, external event outside your control. Resistance: this is outrageous. They have no right. I can't believe they said that. Focus on fighting the external, leading to anger, anxiety, rumination. Resignation: well, that's just how it is. Guess I'm terrible. Nothing I can do. Passive despair, abandoning agency. Acceptance: okay, that criticism happened. Their opinion and action are outside my control. I accept that this is the current reality, acknowledging the external without resistance. This frees you to then focus on what is within your control. How will I choose to respond? Will I calmly address it? Will I examine if there's any truth I can learn from, discarding the rest? Will I focus on maintaining my own integrity? Acceptance clears the mental fog of resistance so you can see clearly what actions are available and appropriate within your control. It's not giving up. It's strategically choosing where to apply your energy. Techniques for cultivating acceptance. Acceptance is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. Here are some techniques rooted in Stoicism and related practices. 1. Negative visualization. Premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. This classic Stoic exercise involves periodically contemplating potential future difficulties, losing possessions, facing illness, dealing with the loss of loved ones, encountering failure. The purpose isn't to induce anxiety, but the opposite: to appreciate what you have now. By contemplating its potential loss, you value it more. To reduce the shock, if misfortune does strike, you mentally rehearse the possibility, making it less jarring. To rehearse acceptance, You practice acknowledging that such things can happen and consider how you would aim to respond virtuously. How to practice briefly, 5, 10 minutes. Calmly consider a potential difficulty. Remind yourself it's external. Consider how you would strive to use your inner resources, judgment, action, to navigate it. Then return to appreciating the present. 2. Journaling for acceptance. Writing can be a powerful tool for processing reality and fostering acceptance. Try prompts like dissecting a struggle. Describe a current difficulty. Clearly list the aspects outside your control and the aspects within your control, your judgments, choices, actions. Explicitly write, I accept the uncontrollable aspect. Then focus on planning your controllable actions, processing the past. Write about a past event you regret or resent. Acknowledge that the event itself cannot be changed. Focus on extracting lessons learned, controllable, and affirming acceptance of the unchangeable past. Gratitude. Practice. Regularly listing things you are grateful for, big or small, anchors you in the reality of the present and fosters appreciation for what is, counteracting the tendency to focus on what's lacking or wrong. 3. Mindfulness and objective observation. Mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment, is inherently a practice of acceptance. By observing thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, and external events as they arise and pass away, without immediately labeling them good or bad, or trying to push them away, you cultivate the ability to simply be with reality as it is. When an anxious thought or difficult feeling arises, try observing it with curiosity rather than immediately resisting it. Notice it, name it, there is worry, and allow it to be there without needing to fight it. This non-resistance often lessens its power. Letting go is not an act of weakness. It is an act of wisdom and strength. It's recognizing the limits of your power and refusing to waste your precious energy fighting battles you cannot win. By embracing acceptance of the uncontrollable, you free yourself to fully engage with the controllable, your judgments, your actions, your character. This harmonious dance between focused action and serene acceptance is the heart of living with reduced anxiety and greater peace. Just as Epictetus taught. Chapter 8. Applying the principle to common anxiety triggers. We have now assembled the core toolkit derived from Epictetus's wisdom. We understand the crucial difference between what is within our control and what isn't, the dichotomy of control. We've practiced identifying where our mental energy habitually goes. We've learned techniques to master our judgments and beliefs, take charge of our actions and desires, and cultivate acceptance for the uncontrollable. The theoretical foundation is laid, and the practical tools are in hand. Now it's time to put them to work on the front lines where anxiety often ambushes us in daily life. This chapter focuses on applying the dichotomy of control to 5 common battlegrounds for anxiety: social situations, the workplace, health concerns, finances, and relationships. While the specific circumstances differ, you'll see how the underlying strategy remains consistent. Rigorously distinguish between the internal, up to us, and the external, not up to us. Focus your energy solely on the internal, and practice acceptance towards the external. This targeted application can significantly reduce the power these common triggers hold over your peace of mind. 1. Social anxiety, fear of judgment. Social anxiety often stems from an intense fear of negative evaluation by others. We worry about saying the wrong thing, appearing awkward, being rejected, or not measuring up. Applying the dichotomy. Outside control. What others actually think of you, their specific reactions, a laugh, a frown, silence, whether they like you, the overall social dynamics, specific conversational outcomes. These depend entirely on their judgments and internal states. Within control. Your decision to engage or not, your intention to be polite, kind, or authentic, the effort you put into listening, the questions you choose to ask, managing your own self-critical thoughts, judgments, your breathing, your choice to stay or leave gracefully, the shift. Instead of entering social situations focused on the impossible task of controlling others' perceptions, external, shift your focus entirely to managing your own actions and intentions. Internal, aim not to be liked, external outcome, but to act with kindness and integrity. Internal action, focus not on being interesting, but on being interested in others, an action of directing attention. Challenge the underlying judgment that you need everyone's approval for your well-being. Remind yourself, their thoughts are theirs, my actions are mine. 2. Workplace stress, pressure, and politics. The workplace is ripe with potential stressors, performance reviews, looming deadlines, difficult colleagues or bosses, fear of redundancy, office politics, pressure to climb the ladder. Applying the dichotomy. Outside control. Your boss's final opinion, whether you get the promotion, company reorganizations, economic factors affecting job security, colleagues' behavior or gossip, specific project results heavily dependent on others or external factors. Within control. The quality and quantity of effort you put into your work, your professionalism, your time management and organization, seeking clarification when needed, maintaining your integrity, how you treat colleagues. Your judgment about what constitutes success, for example, effort versus outcome, managing your stress responses. The shift. Detach your sense of self-worth and peace from external workplace outcomes like promotions or praise. Define success internally. Did I act with integrity? Did I put in my best effort? Did I learn something? Concentrate on the quality of your inputs, which you control, rather than obsessing over outputs, which you don't fully control. When dealing with difficult colleagues, focus on managing your own responses and maintaining professionalism, not on changing their behavior. 3. Health worries, body and mortality. Anxiety about health can range from mild concerns to debilitating hypochondria. We worry about getting sick, the meaning of physical symptoms, aging, and our ultimate mortality. So, applying the dichotomy. Outside control, your underlying genetic predispositions, contracting certain viruses or diseases despite precautions, the natural aging process, specific results of medical tests, the existence of incurable conditions, death itself. Within control. Your lifestyle choices, diet, exercise, sleep, avoiding harmful substances, seeking appropriate medical advice and checkups, adhering to treatment plans, managing fearful thoughts and catastrophizing, judgments, educating yourself responsibly, practicing preventative care. The shift. Recognize that perfect, perpetual health is an uncontrollable external. Shift your focus from the outcome, never getting sick, to the process, living healthily and responsibly. Do what is within your power to maintain your health and practice acceptance regarding the body's inherent vulnerability and impermanence. Challenge anxious judgments that equate any symptom with disaster. Use negative visualization constructively to appreciate your health now and mentally prepare for the possibility of future challenges with resilience rather than terror. Ease 4. Financial concerns, uncertainty and security. Money worries are pervasive, fueled by economic uncertainty, comparison with others, unexpected expenses, and the fear of not having enough. Applying the dichotomy. Outside control. Global economic conditions, stock market performance, inflation rates, unexpected large-scale events impacting finances. For example, pandemic, natural disaster, specific investment returns, sudden job loss due to company failure. Within control. Your budgeting and spending habits, your saving and investment strategies, the process, not the specific outcome. Seeking financial knowledge, your efforts to earn income, controlling impulse purchases, distinguishing needs from wants, your judgment, cultivating contentment with what you have. The shift. While financial stability is a reasonable preferred indifferent, detach your inner peace from your net worth. Focus on responsible financial behaviors within your control. Create a budget, track expenses, save consistently, educate yourself. Practice gratitude for what you do have. Challenge judgments that equate wealth with happiness or self-worth. Accept that external economic factors are unpredictable and focus on building resilience through prudent internal management of your finances. 5. Relationship anxiety, connection and conflict. Anxiety in relationships often involves fear of abandonment, jealousy, insecurity, difficulty with conflict, or trying to control the partner's feelings or behavior. Applying the dichotomy. Outside control. Your partner's thoughts, feelings, choices, and actions. Whether they love you or remain faithful. The ultimate long-term outcome of the relationship. Their past experiences. How they interpret your actions. Within control, your own actions and behavior as a partner, kindness, honesty, support, respect, your communication efforts, expressing needs clearly, listening actively, managing your own jealousy or insecurity, challenging judgments, setting healthy boundaries, your decision to remain in the relationship, your efforts to understand their perspective. The shift. Stop trying to control your partner or guarantee the relationship's future. External. Focus entirely on being the best partner you can be, according to your own values. Internal. Communicate your needs and feelings honestly, but accept that you cannot control their response. Manage your own emotional reactions through examining your underlying judgments. For example, if they disagree, it means they don't love me. Respect their autonomy. True connection comes from authentic interaction between two individuals exercising their own volition, not from one trying to control the other. Across all these domains, the application of Epictetus's principle is the same. Draw the line clearly between what is yours and what is not. Pour your energy into managing your judgments and actions. Practice acceptance towards everything else. By doing so, you systematically withdraw the fuel that feeds anxiety, allowing for greater calm, clarity, and purposeful living, even when navigating the inevitable challenges of these common life areas. Chapter 9. Building Resilience, the Stoic Toolkit. Throughout this book, we've explored the profound wisdom of Epictetus, focusing intently on his cornerstone teaching, the dichotomy of control. We've dissected the principle, learned to identify our locus of control, practice mastering our judgments, taken charge of our actions and desires, learned the art of acceptance, and applied these concepts to specific anxiety triggers. Understanding these ideas is enlightening, but the true transformation comes from weaving them into the fabric of our daily lives. Stoicism is not an armchair philosophy. It's a practical, lived discipline. This chapter shifts our focus towards building lasting emotional resilience by integrating the dichotomy of control into a consistent practice and exploring other complementary tools from the rich Stoic toolkit. Resilience in this context isn't about becoming emotionless or immune to hardship. It's about developing the inner strength to navigate life's inevitable challenges with grace, wisdom, and significantly less anxiety. Integrating the dichotomy of control into daily practice. Like building physical strength requires regular exercise, building mental and emotional resilience requires consistent practice of Stoic principles. The dichotomy of control shouldn't be a concept you only think about when reading this book. It needs to become a readily accessible lens through which you view your daily experiences. Here are ways to make it habitual. 1. Morning intention setting. Begin each day with a brief reflection. Remind yourself of the fundamental distinction. Some things are up to me, my judgments, intentions, actions, and some are not, everything else. Today I will focus my energy on what is up to me. I will strive to act virtuously and meet external events with acceptance. This sets the tone and primes your mind. And go. 2. Real-time control checks. Use moments of frustration, annoyance, or anxiety throughout the day as triggers. When you feel that familiar pang, pause and ask, what is upsetting me right now? Is the source of this disturbance something within my direct control or something external? If it's external, for example, someone else's behavior, a delay, an unexpected event, consciously shift your focus to your internal response. Okay, that's external. What is up to me is how I judge this situation and how I choose to act next. 3. Evening review. Before sleep, take a few minutes to reflect on the day, not with harsh self-criticism, but with gentle self-assessment. Where did I successfully apply the dichotomy of control? When did I get caught up worrying about externals? What judgments led me astray? What could I learn from those moments? How did I handle unexpected events? This review reinforces learning and strengthens your resolve for the next day. It's about progress, not perfection. Consistent application transforms the dichotomy from an intellectual concept into an intuitive way of navigating the world, gradually lessening the grip of anxiety rooted in trying to control the uncontrollable. Expanding the toolkit, complementary Stoic practices. While the dichotomy of control is central, Stoicism offers other valuable exercises that work synergistically to build resilience. 1. Viewing challenges as opportunities, the obstacle is the way. This principle, perhaps most famously articulated by Marcus Aurelius, but deeply embedded in Stoicism, reframes difficulties. Instead of seeing obstacles merely as impediments to our goals or sources of distress, the Stoic views them as opportunities to practice and demonstrate virtue. Is a project proving incredibly difficult? It's an opportunity to practice patience, perseverance, and creative problem solving. Is someone treating you unfairly? It's an opportunity to practice restraint, forgiveness, and maintaining your own integrity. Are you facing a loss or setback? It's an opportunity to practice courage, acceptance, and resilience. By asking, what virtue can I practice in this situation? You transform potential sources of anxiety into training grounds for character development. This proactive reframing shifts you from victim to agent. 2. Contemplating impermanence. The Stoics frequently recommended meditating on the transient nature of all things. Possessions can be lost, relationships end, health fades, life itself is finite. This might sound morbid, but its purpose is deeply practical and anxiety-reducing. Fosters appreciation. Recognizing that things won't last forever enhances our gratitude for them now. Reduces attachment. Understanding impermanence loosens our desperate grip on external things, making their potential loss less terrifying. If we accept that loss is possible, even inevitable, we suffer less when it occurs. Psychological preparation. Like negative visualization, contemplating impermanence prepares us mentally for change and loss, reducing the shock and fostering acceptance. Perspective. It reminds us that many of our daily worries are small in the grand scheme, helping us prioritize what truly matters: our character and how we live each moment. 3. Practicing gratitude. While touched upon earlier, gratitude deserves emphasis as a core resilience-building practice. Anxiety often thrives on a scarcity mindset, focusing on what's wrong, what's missing, or what might be lost. Gratitude actively counters this by shifting focus to abundance, what is good, contentment, a powerful antidote to the dissatisfaction that often underlies anxiety. Developing true emotional resilience. These practices daily integration of the dichotomy, reframing obstacles, contemplating impermanence, and cultivating gratitude are not isolated tricks. They are interconnected components of a holistic system for developing emotional resilience. Resilience isn't about building walls to keep out difficult emotions. It's about developing the inner flexibility and strength to experience life's inevitable ups and downs without being capsized. It means feeling disappointment without despairing, experiencing fear without being paralyzed by it, facing setbacks without losing your sense of purpose, recovering more quickly from adversity, maintaining your ability to think clearly and act virtuously even under pressure. By consistently applying the Stoic toolkit, you are essentially training your mind. You are strengthening your capacity for sound judgment, reinforcing your focus on constructive action, deepening your acceptance of reality, and cultivating a perspective grounded in gratitude and purpose. This is the path to building an inner citadel, a resilient core of tranquility and strength that can withstand the storms of life and significantly reduce the frequency and intensity of anxiety. It's a lifelong practice, but every step taken builds a more robust and peaceful you. Chapter 10. Living with Serenity, Your Path Forward. We have reached the final chapter of our journey together, exploring the timeless wisdom of Epictetus and its power to alleviate the anxieties of our modern world. We began by acknowledging the pervasive unease that characterizes contemporary life and sought refuge not in fleeting distractions, but a holistic system for developing emotional resilience. Resilience isn't about building walls to keep out difficult emotions. It's about developing the inner flexibility and strength to experience life's inevitable ups and downs without being capsized. It means feeling disappointment without despairing, experiencing fear without being paralyzed by it, facing setbacks without losing your sense of purpose, recovering more quickly from adversity, maintaining your ability to think clearly and act virtuously even under pressure. By consistently applying the Stoic toolkit, you are essentially training your mind. You are strengthening your capacity for sound judgment, reinforcing your focus on constructive action, deepening your acceptance of reality, and cultivating a perspective grounded in gratitude and purpose. This is the path to building an inner citadel, a resilient core of tranquility and strength that can withstand the storms of life and significantly reduce the frequency and intensity of anxiety. It's a lifelong practice, but every step taken builds a more robust and peaceful you. Chapter 10. Living with Serenity, Your Path Forward. We have reached the final chapter of our journey together, exploring the timeless wisdom of Epictetus and its power to alleviate the anxieties of our modern world. We began by acknowledging the pervasive unease that characterizes contemporary life and sought refuge not in fleeting distractions, but in the enduring insights of ancient Stoicism. We met Epictetus himself, a man whose life exemplified resilience in the face of profound adversity, and discovered the core principle that illuminated his path, the dichotomy of control. Throughout these pages, we have dissected this fundamental idea, the clear distinction between what is truly up to us, our judgments, choices, actions, desires, aversions, and what is not up to us, everything external, from our bodies and possessions to the opinions of others and the unfolding of events. We saw how misapplying our focus, trying desperately to control the uncontrollable, is the very root of so much of our anxiety, frustration, and suffering. Armed with this understanding, we embarked on the practical work. We learned to identify where our own focus habitually lies, often discovering a deep-seated tendency to worry about externals. We then delved into the techniques for mastering our inner world, recognizing that our judgments, not external events themselves, are the primary drivers of our emotional responses. We practiced examining, challenging, and reframing anxious thoughts and limiting beliefs. We explored how to take charge of our actions, focusing on virtuous intention and effort rather than uncertain outcomes, and how to align our desires and aversions with what truly lies within our power. We learned the liberating art of acceptance, letting go of resistance towards the unchangeable aspects of reality, and saw how this acceptance, far from being passive resignation, actually empowers effective action within our sphere of control. We applied these principles directly to common anxiety triggers, social situations, work stress, health worries, financial concerns, and relationship difficulties, seeing how the same core strategy brings clarity and calm across diverse challenges. Finally, we expanded our Stoic toolkit, learning how practices like viewing obstacles as opportunities, contemplating impermanence, and cultivating gratitude build lasting emotional resilience. The journey continues. A lifelong practice. As we conclude this book, it's vital to understand that this is not an endpoint, but rather a signpost pointing towards your path forward. Mastering the art of living wisely and tranquilly, as Epictetus taught, is not like learning a finite skill that, once acquired, requires no further attention. It is much more akin to maintaining physical fitness, playing a musical instrument, or tending a garden. It requires ongoing commitment, practice, and refinement. There will be days when you effortlessly apply the dichotomy of control, navigating challenges with grace and maintaining your inner calm. There will also inevitably be days when you forget, when old habits resurface, when you find yourself consumed by worry about things outside your control, or react with unexamined judgments. This is perfectly normal. It is part of the human condition and part of the learning process. The key is not to strive for unattainable perfection, which would itself be a violation of the dichotomy of control, as perfection is an external outcome, not fully up to us. Rather, the goal is progress and practice. When you stumble, and you will treat yourself with the same understanding and encouragement you might offer a friend. Avoid harsh self-criticism and unhelpful judgment. Simply notice the lapse. Gently remind yourself of the principles, learn what you can from the experience, and recommit to the practice. As Seneca, another great Stoic, reminded us, we are not sages, but we are making progress towards wisdom. Every time you consciously choose to examine a judgment, focus on your actions, or accept an external, you are strengthening your inner citadel. Embracing freedom and peace. What is the ultimate reward for embarking on this Stoic path? It is nothing less than freedom and peace, not the freedom from external constraints. Those will always exist, but the inner freedom that comes from realizing that your core self, your faculty of choice and judgment, cannot be harmed or controlled by anything external unless you allow it. It's the liberation from the exhausting burden of trying to manage the unmanageable, control the uncontrollable, and guarantee the unguaranteeable. It's the peace that arises from focusing your precious energy on what truly matters and what is truly yours. Your character, your intentions, your responses. It's a stable, resilient peace not dependent on whether things go exactly according to your plan, but grounded in your commitment to navigating life with wisdom and virtue. This inner tranquility allows you to engage with the world more fully, more effectively, and more joyfully, even amidst its inherent uncertainties and difficulties. You worry less about impressing others and focus more on authentic connection. You stress less about outcomes and find satisfaction in effort and integrity. You fear the future less and appreciate the present more. Your path forward. The tools and principles outlined in this book, drawn from the profound wisdom of Epictetus, offer a clear and practical path away from the grip of anxiety and towards a life of greater serenity, purpose, and resilience. You possess the innate human capacity for reason and choice, the very resources Epictetus insisted were sufficient for living well. Embrace the ongoing practice. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Continue to learn, reflect, and apply these principles in the laboratory of your daily life. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and every conscious application of the dichotomy of control, every examined judgment, every intentional action, every act of acceptance is a step towards that more tranquil and purposeful existence. May you walk this path with courage and clarity, discovering for yourself the profound freedom and enduring peace that comes from focusing on what truly matters and is truly within your power. May you live less anxiously and more wisely, guided by the enduring light of Stoic wisdom.